to the Lake Cities podcast with Chris and Lucas. With me, as always, is the dapperly dressed and handsome Chris Respis.
Well, thank you very much.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man.
How you enjoying this 30-degree weather?
Hey, listen, man, I got this bald head of mine covered, and I try to grow out my lumberjack real quick.
It's just making you happy you're not having to walk in it?
Oh, that's it. For sure. Sure.
That's still one of the craziest stories I heard, man.
Come on, man.
That whatever it was, the month of walking you did. What was it, 2 weeks?
It was 2 weeks over Christmas, walking from Virginia to South Carolina.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, today we have joining us somebody that we talked about last week, so we figured we ought to just say it to her face.
That's right.
It's our outgoing librarian, a lady who has revitalized the library of Lake Dallas and helped the Lake Cities out a ton. Miss Natalie McAdams, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, absolutely. Welcome back. It's been quite a while since we had you on. I've gotten a lot of people that have all of these insane concerns about our library right now. So I want you to catch us up on some things that have been going on in the library, how you guys have responded to COVID, because Chris and I have been taking the baby bounce classes online, which has been a lot of fun. But I just don't fit in his lap the way that I
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, but we got an opportunity last week to talk with John Cabrales. And he was just telling us what an excellent job you have done and how much the city is going to be missing you. I know that there's a lot of people in our congregation that will. But let's start with how you guys have responded to COVID and what the library has been doing since then. So what's the last year been like for you, and how have you guys had to adapt?
It's been insane.
Yeah.
But it's been that way for everyone.
Right.
And so with COVID starting in March, we shut down for 1 month in April to sort of get our bearings and figure out what we were doing and how to keep people safe. We were hopeful at the outset that we were going to be able to go through with our summer reading program as normal, have our programming in person. We'd find the cure, we'd solve it, we'd figure out that things weren't as bad as they really were. And
14 days to flatten the curve.
Yeah, it's been a long 14 days. Longest 2 weeks of my life.
Yeah.
So in April, we realized this isn't going away, and we are not going to be able to do things status quo. Right. So what we decided to do is we filmed all of our programs. We filmed a lot of stuff ahead of time to make sure that we could do it and put it online for the public to go along with. Then we started cutting out crafts, getting science experiments ready, and contacting our summer food program affiliate that we work with. And they said, we're not doing the come and sit down and eat program. You're going to do a drive-through line, and you're going to figure out a way to make it work. And we said, you're right. We will. We'll get this done. Yeah. And just to give you a little bit of context, for the summer food program in 2019, we served about 1,081 meals to children here in the Lake Cities.
Okay.
And we were like, that's amazing, because it was the second year ever doing the program, and it had gone up, a little bit over 100 meals.
Okay.
Last year in 2020, we served over 11,000 meals.
Oh, my goodness.
It was intense. And every day it was a line of cars. That's when we would pass out our crafts and pass out our information and get that out to the public. We'd share city information as well, stuff about SPAN and public transportation and things that we could assist members of our community with.
Right.
And so we got it done. So every day I was out there with one of our amazing volunteers who I believe also volunteered here during the summer when you guys were doing the food on the weekends.
Yeah.
So she was working with us all during the week and coming out
coming
here to
on the
help
weekends.
y'all. Yeah, it was amazing. So every day we'd go and set up a tent. We'd set up the coolers, serve the food for an hour, take everything down, bring it back inside. And then we did our curbside service. So if people needed something, some books, some movies, something to keep them entertained or engaged or educated during the summer, they could give us a call, they could get in touch with us online, or they could show up at the door and say, hey, I need this, and we could bring it out to their vehicles for them, put it in their car without contact, and they could go on their way.
Wow.
That's wild. So what is the process like? Because I know we've had to work on keeping our area sanitized and all that kind of stuff. We got a fogger that we use in the sanctuary, it sounds really cool, but it's not. I mean, there's a reason that they tell you whenever you got bed bugs, like leave the house. This is a bad situation.
Right.
What's it like to have to implement things in order to sanitize books and reading material that people have, DVDs, and all the videos and stuff that people are getting. What was that process like, and how did you guys adapt in that sense? Because a lot of what you do is stuff that people handle.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, so we kept up with all of the information that was coming out from the CDC, the WHO, the American Library Association, and the Texas Library Association provided information as well that we could source to figure out, what is the lifespan of the virus on different types of materials. It's anywhere from a few minutes to 72 hours, depending on the type of material that it's touching and whether or not it is interacting with UV light. And so we were like, okay, we have all this information. What we decided to implement was a 72-hour holding period for all materials starting off, and then a sanitization after that 72-hour period. So you would return something, we'd put it on a shelf for 72 hours, then we'd come through and disinfect it. So it was overkill.
Yeah, so you're quarantining the books.
And then sanitizing.
That's crazy.
How did they feel about it? Yeah.
We didn't ask.
Yeah, that's right.
We didn't want to know the answer.
Stephen King's books trying to fight all the other ones.
That's it.
So the process that we've moved to now, based on some of the new research that has come out, is when we receive the materials, we go ahead and we sanitize them using sanitizing cloths, and then we're able to put those back on the shelves within the next 24 hours so that they're accessible to the public. Yeah.
So do you guys offer, and I don't know enough about this program, I'll just openly admit that. Do you guys offer like an audio book thing through the library?
Oh, yeah.
So how does that work, and what is that like? Because I am now starting to get into audiobooks. I've been spending a lot more time in my vehicle.
Right.
And so I'm getting tired of listening to our podcast over because I can't stand the sound of my own voice. So how do we sign up for the audio program, and what does that look like for citizens? Yeah.
So all you need is a library card, and if you don't have one or you're not comfortable coming in to get one, we do have a library card application online that you can fill out, and then we'll give you the card number. You can come pick up the card whenever you're ready, you feel like getting out of the house. But what you'll do is once you have that library card number, you'll go to hoopladigital.com, or you'll download the app called Hoopla, and you can put that on a phone, smartphone, tablet, computer. From there, you'll just register with your library card number and the library's name, set up with your email and your own password, and you're good to go. The way we have ours set up, we started out with Hoopla about 2 years ago, and we had it to where you could check out 3 items a month because every item that gets checked out, we pay for that individually each time it's checked out. And it's a small fee, anywhere between about 79 cents up to $4 per item every time it's checked out. And so we wanted to start the program out slow to see can we afford to do this. Once COVID hit, we bumped that up to 10, and we've kept it there because it has been an overwhelming success. We have over 300 people who use the service right now.
About to be 302.
I know, that's right.
And it has, the best thing about it too is it's not just audiobooks, but it's ebooks, it's comic books, which is what I use it for predominantly, and of course a great audiobook selection. There's music on there. You can download full music albums. You can watch TV shows and movies as well.
Wow. So how do they determine what is a 79-cent book and what's a $4 book? Is it based on like when it was released, how well it's selling in the general market?
I haven't been able to determine exactly how they set their price. I'm assuming that it's based on how much it costs licensing the material from the original publisher, but I haven't really worked that out yet. Some of the stuff that they charge us extra for, I'm like, I don't know why you would charge us this much for this item. So I'm guessing it's the publisher's licensing fee.
This is a garbage book. Why am I paying $4?
Exactly.
It just comes with a disclaimer. Please don't check this out. It's not good, and it costs us too much money.
We've blocked that one.
There you go. There you go. So what is how does Hoopla work in the sense? I know several of the libraries that have audiobook selections, only one person can check it out at a time, and that you have to wait on it or you have to borrow it from somebody else in order to make that happen. If there's an audiobook that's on Hoopla, can Chris and I both download it and read it at the same time, or how does that work?
That's the great thing about Hoopla is that it is multi-use. So if you have it checked out, somebody else can check it out at the same time. We aren't paying for just that. And that's why you pay per checkout on our end, not the public's end. We pay per checkout so that everyone has access to the same content at the same time.
Right.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we talked last time that you were on the show, which was early in 2020. right before all the craziness hit, about some of the programs that the library was doing. You guys had a Saturday morning group that was getting together to run. You were doing a lot of stuff like the baby bounce classes. There were in-person readings. You were doing a lot of those things to really engage the community together, making the library sort of a central hub in the community as a place where people could go and do activities and those kind of things. How have you had to adjust that over the course of the last several months?
Oh, definitely. So we started with recording our programs and putting them online. So we do have a YouTube channel where you can see our stuff from last summer.
Okay.
So that was where all of our craft videos and science videos, our ESL classes, all of that stuff we recorded and put online. And then we could stream it live on Facebook so that people could follow along at the same time and ask their questions, and we would live answer those questions when we premiered the video.
Gotcha.
When we reopened starting in September, we started doing in-person programming again, and we moved it from outside programming to in the library now. We have all new furniture thanks to our Talker Foundation grant, and it's some of it is modular, so we can move it out of the way. We have shelving that's on casters, so we can roll it out of the way to create more space so people can be further apart. We don't have everybody bunched up on top of each other.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's more space, and that's what we're doing right now. When we get to summer, however, we're going to be doing the recorded and in-person programming again, so people who want to engage during the summer are not limited to only attending in person if they're not comfortable with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's one of the big challenges that we're having to face is, there's a certain amount of people that are ready to be back in person,
right,
and that are either stir crazy or they're just sick of it, know. And another group, especially kids or parents with young children, that are concerned about still getting out and what that looks like, and figuring out the way that those things go. So being able to offer an in-person and a digital format, I think, is going to be really good for families in the summer. What have you done with the library programs? You just talked about one grant that you guys got. What are some of the other things that you're working and in process of? I know that there's one big grant in particular that you guys are looking forward to. What kind of things like that are going on at the library, and how can our people in our community engage in those things to help out or to participate in some of those programs?
Definitely. So some of the programs we have going on right now, we have our regular weekly programs, which are going to be our story time and our baby bounce program, and then our Crafters of Lake Dallas program.
What is Crafters of Lake Dallas?
It is a group of people who get together and they just work on different crafts that they're working on. So they bring all their materials, they share stuff. I have threatened to bring my sewing machine and make them teach me how to use it.
Nice.
They said they would do it, but I don't think they're ready for how bad I am yet. So we haven't gotten there just yet. But we have people who sew, angel gowns. We have people who knit. We have people who make their own journals, who do paintings. And they just get together and hang out and work on those crafts together. So it's really cool. Yeah, that's every Tuesday night from 4 to 6. We're not doing it tonight just because the weather may get a little iffy. So we don't want anyone to drive in that. But then story time, we have Lucy Phillips, who was doing story time for Shady Shores Elementary. She's coming now and volunteering and doing our story time every week, and it has grown tremendously.
Yeah, she's if you've never heard Lucy tell a story, she's great.
She's so amazing.
Yeah, it really makes it come to life. It's cool.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she's been a real blessing to us, so we're really glad to have her.
Yeah.
And then, we're working on our programming coming up for the summer, but we also have a few things in the works. We have a cookbook that we're trying to put together.
Okay.
So we have a cookbook, a Lake Dallas cookbook that was made a long time ago. It's one of those, little tiny bound ones with the little plastic spine.
The Abico binding.
Yes, yes.
I have ripped off many a fingernail trying to use that machine.
So we have an old one of those, and we had a member of the public who was interested in doing another one. So right now we're in the recipe collection phase, and we'll be publishing that in a physical format as well as a digital ebook that we'll have on our website so people can access it.
So how do we submit recipes for the cookbook?
Oh, yeah. So on our website, it's lakedallas.com/library. There's information about who to email there, and we can take them online, or if you want to bring it in person, if you have the little recipe card, we can just make a copy of that and we'll write your info on there so that we can credit you with it.
Yeah, Chris and I will be personally testing all of the dessert recipes.
How did you know that was on? Did my
I felt it.
You can feel it. You can feel
Yeah.
it. I was like, well, listen, I think that we need to sample it first so we can make sure.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that are going to put like their pecan pie, but we need to make sure it's the good one. That's the one that gets in the recipe.
Yeah, we need like the award-winning section.
Absolutely.
That's
right.
We need judges.
Yeah.
But we'll get some
I'll
blue
let you
ribbons
know.
printed out. I got a Vistaprint account. We'll make that happen right now. Official Lake City's podcast approved pecan pie. That's
approved.
We also have a poetry and art contest that'll be coming up in April. Poetry Month, National Poetry Month is April, so we're going to get that off the ground, and that will also be a published book. So people who submit their art or their poems or even short stories, we'll put those in the book, and then we'll have our award winner section in there as well.
Cool.
And we've got some photography classes coming up around spring break, and then towards summer this year, the theme is Tales and Tales. AILS, I should probably be able to spell, and then ALES.
Okay.
So we're going to have a lot of like animal themed and fairy tale themed crafts and activities, as well as our science programs this summer as well.
Gotcha. Wow. I like that wordplay.
Yeah, man.
You can tell she's a master of library science.
I know. I was like, wow.
I was stunned last week when you have to have, he was like, you have to have your MLS degree. And I'm like, Major League Soccer doesn't seem like it's got a lot to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty good on a soccer field.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
Better on a basketball court. But
Now I am not good on a basketball court. No, if you give me a 6-foot ladder and toss me a ball, I can dunk it. But outside of that, I fit all of the stereotypes from my cultural background. Man, that's just insane. What can you tell us? Because we got off on a rabbit trail last week talking about the Masters of Library Science degree. We know that that's something that's important in order to get some of the grants. We've got some of those things in the works. What would you tell somebody that wants to be a librarian? What is that process like to get your Masters of Library Science? Because it sounds like it's a pretty competitive field, even though it's something I've never thought of before.
Right.
Yeah, so there's sort of a saying in libraries, if you're looking for a librarian position, you have to wait for someone to die or retire.
Oh, wow.
Because when you get in the field, it's something that you're passionate about. It's something that you love. And it's not something that you easily step away from. And so people stay, their entire career in this field, and they may stay their entire career in one job because it's something you care about deeply.
Yeah.
So you do have to have an undergraduate degree. It is typical for you to get an undergraduate bachelor's degree in like English or the humanities of some sort, but it's also really important, especially because there are different fields of library science. Mine is in digital image management and archival studies, so that's what my specialty is. Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a specialty in the master,
and
I like
right off her
smooth.
tongue. I know. I was like,
Digital imagery archival. I'm done.
Yeah, it's close
There's just too many syllables for me to figure out.
That's what's on my diploma, archival stuff. Yeah.
Archival stuff. That's all. Digital archival stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
But yeah, so they're medical librarians, and so they get undergraduate degrees in the hard sciences, or you'll have STEM librarians. So it really depends on what you get your undergraduate degree in. But if you are passionate about something, there is a library job for you because you do have those specialty libraries. You've got public libraries where it's best to have an education either in public management, so you could go in for your political science degree, you could go in for your English degree, any of the humanities degrees, but then you do have those specialties too. Yeah. And then it's a 2-year process for most people. Sometimes, the master's program, it just depends on where you are and what you can commit at that time. I did mine in 2 years. Some people, they go a little bit longer because they can only take 1 or 2 classes at a time based on their work. And then after that, it's just finding a job. And thankfully, the Texas Library Association is the largest library association, state association in the country.
Boom, baby.
And
right? Big.
Oh, yeah. And so they are amazing help at finding a job. In fact, the job we have in Lake Dallas is currently on there, and we've received a number of applicants from that because it's on the Texas Library Association website.
Okay, so this master's program that you're in, is it like a research-based thing? Did you have to do a paper and all that on it, or is it more practicum?
So it actually is both.
Okay.
So you do have to do a practicum.
Okay.
I was actually managing a library at the time, so that counted toward my practicum because I was already in the field.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But then you also have a written exam at the end. You have to write 3 papers, research papers, in order to graduate.
So did you do your research papers on Dewey Decimal, or what were those on?
I know it all.
Oh my gosh.
So the really intimidating part of it is they say, okay, we're going to give you 5 essay prompts, and you will not know until the day that the exam opens what those prompts are. And then you have 7 days to write 3 research papers of a certain length on 3 of the 5 prompts. And I was terrified.
Yeah, I got anxiety just hearing about this test.
And then I opened up the prompts and I was like, oh, yeah, I studied all of this stuff for 2 years. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you psych yourself out thinking, if you don't pass this, you essentially, if you don't pass this final exam, you do not get your degree.
Right.
And you get 2 whole attempts at it. And so I was shaking. I thought I'm never going to be able to do this. And I was like, oh, well, of course, I paid attention.
Sure. Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
Well, that's good.
Sure,
Yeah, paying attention seems important in school.
Yeah, just a little bit, right?
It can help.
So let me ask you a question, because you mentioned that you were already managing a library. So did you always want to be a librarian, or like what was your passion? You say you're really passionate. Is it about the Dewey Decimal System? It's about archiving,
Love those
like you know what I
numbers.
mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So did you always want to be a librarian?
No.
Okay.
I did not. In fact, I never even thought that it was a career choice for me. My mother worked in my library when I was in school. She worked in our school library.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's just something people do. It's a job, but it's nothing, crazy, fun, or exciting. Granted, I spent every single day in that library reading until like 6 p.m., and just devouring everything.
Right.
But no, I wanted to be a history professor.
Okay.
And so I went and got my degree in history. And my last year of school, I asked my counselor, like, hey, is there something I can double major in, because I finished all my history credits? And they said English. And I said, okay. So in 1 year, I did an English degree, and I graduated with my bachelor's in in English and in history.
That's like a humble brag. I did my English degree in 1 year.
I'm great, actually.
It was good fun. I read Heart of Darkness 6 times in 1 year for that degree, and I will say I don't think that there are books to hate, but I will never read Heart of Darkness again.
No
Not
doubt.
gonna happen. I'm
No
sorry,
doubt.
Conrad, it's not.
Yeah, it's one of those $4 books where she's like, don't listen to this.
That's it.
Yeah.
But no, so I graduated, and then I was like, well, what do I do now? I don't know. And I had a professor, one of my English teachers, who said, you would be a really good librarian. And I was like, that's cool. I'm going to be a history professor, but thank you.
Yeah.
So a year later, I emailed him and I said, hey, would you write my letter of reference so I can get into library school? And he goes, Natalie, didn't you say that you were going to be a history professor? You completely wrote me off. And I was like, yeah, but I've been working at a library for a year now, and I can teach the public. In college, I get to teach a select few, but when you're in a public library, you get to impact so many lives. And I thought I wanted to teach college-age people,
right.
But when you sit down with a kid and you help them learn how to read or love how to read, it is so impactful. And I was like, this is where I need to be.
Yeah.
And so that really changed the game for me.
Yeah.
That is pretty awesome. You know, we think about teaching, but still, there is such a limited scope once you get, especially to those levels of higher education.
Right.
And then my wife is pursuing her degree in psychology right now, and I would not want to be a college professor right now, especially with the way that they're having to do all the online learning. They have each one of the classes, all the kids get in this. I say the kids, all the students get in these little like group meet chats, and it is these. I'm not going to out all the people that I know that are in these chats. They are not always very nice to the professors in these little group meet chats. And I'm like, these folks are like, there are some of these people that did not grow up with the internet that are still doing stuff on paper up until last year because they never had to learn email, and now they're having to learn this whole new system, and there's just very little grace for them. So I think, that's not a position I would envy. So well done you for having the foresight to get to do some of that stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know, that's right. And I like what you said about, because when I think librarian, I really think help me find this book, right? And I've been in school my whole life, right? Help me find this book. But what you said was, you get to teach. I never thought about it, library science, from teaching the public. But what you said is not only to learn to read, but to love to read.
Yep.
And to be transparent, part of the reason that I went to law school, this is going to be crazy,
Come on.
is that I was a weak, and still feel like I am, a weak reader. But it was time in the library. Unfortunately, I didn't have a librarian like you, kind of coming around at this point. But it was time in the library and just realizing what a treasure it was and how many resources that were there, that it finally dawned on me, what a privilege it was, to have that kind of access. And so, to hear you say, you want to play a role in people loving how to read. Now, I've just got this book fetish. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I read the first 3 chapters. I'm like, I got it. Well, I don't have it, but I'm close enough. You know what I mean?
First 3 and the last 2, if it's nonfiction, then you get it. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, and so I'm an incredibly slow reader.
Same.
Which, bugs me sometimes because I'm like, I set my reading goal for like 50 books a year, and I read like 10.
Yeah.
And I make it up with graphic novels. So I'll read a bunch of comic books, and I'll be like, I hit 70 books this year.
Yeah.
They happen to be 10 pages long.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They count them.
But it's fine.
Yep, cover to cover.
Did it have an ISBN though?
That's exactly right.
Hey,
yes.
you're good.
So that's what one of the things I try to impart, especially with young kids, is, there is a book for every single reader. You may not know what you like to read yet because you haven't been introduced to it. And so when you throw, Heart of Darkness at a kid too many times, they'll be like, I hate reading. I don't want to do this anymore. But you find that cool graphic novel, or you find that history book or that biography, or even, like that fiction book that just resonates with them. It can completely change their outlook.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is by taking the time to get to know the person. So you can't just throw a book at somebody and say, hey, you'll love this. No, you need to know who they are, what they are, what their values are in order to do that.
I did not read for like my late teens and through most of my 20s. And I would read like maybe a book a year and never found anything that was that interesting until I reread The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And that started me down this journey. I was like, okay, so this was a really interesting book to read. Let me try something else. And the book I followed it up with was Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell about 5 years ago. And since then, I've been obsessed with reading just because of the amount of knowledge that you can get from it. But I've learned that I do have to break it up with some sci-fi stuff, or else my brain will get too much in one track, and I'm trying to analyze everything that happens in my life. I'm like, no, you don't know how to do this, right? Because Malcolm Gladwell said that you're not a Jewish attorney from the 1940s. So that's been a lot of fun. We had a big program last year, to just jump topics really quick, that the city partnered with the United Way in order to help people file their taxes. Is that something that's going to be able to be brought back, and what's that going to be like in the USS of COVIDs?
Yes.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it will not be the same. So it will not be an in-person assistance. However, we did start with the assistance today.
Oh, cool.
So the way that it's working
Good timing.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you thought this through.
Come on.
So the way that it's working with the United Way is their VITA program, which is the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, is going to be virtual. So they have provided us with a link, and we can help people get on the computer and upload their documents. So we have a scanner and a flash drive, and you can come in, sit on any of our public computers, and we'll help you through the process. And all you have to do, input your information, scan in your files, and then they will call you when it's ready and good to go, review things with you over the phone, and then they will file your taxes for you electronically.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then that will automatically be directly deposited into your bank account if you have that set up.
That's great. Is that, and last year one of the big appeals to it for our community was that it was a bilingual program. Are you guys still going to be able to offer that even though it's digital?
I believe they have their website set up to where they can do it in both English and Spanish.
Awesome.
So it should be good to go. Again, we just started it today. We did our first one today this morning.
Right on.
So it took about 30 minutes or so, and we were able to help them get through it. But that I believe that option is on there. Yeah.
And how can people take advantage of that program? Last year there were certain hours that it was, but being as that it's digital now, is it just you can come into the library while the library is open and take advantage of it?
Yeah, anytime they want. Or we pushed out the link today on both the city's Facebook page and the library's Facebook page. So if you have the technology and you feel that you're comfortable with doing it at home, you can just log on from there and do it. Or if you don't have a computer or you don't have a scanner or you're not comfortable doing it unassisted, you can come in and we'll take care of it for you.
Right on. So we'll put that link in the show notes here for anybody that's interested in that. Well, the last thing before we wrap, we want to talk to you a little bit about moving on. And so this was, as soon as we got news, there were several members of our congregation that had been going to the library on a regular basis, and they came to me and they were like, "Did you hear the horrible news?" Yeah. I was like, "What?" Normally when that happens, I'm like, "Oh, I'm about to have to do a funeral.
Right,
what's happening?"
Exactly.
The librarian's leaving. Natalie is going away. I was like, no, I didn't hear this. So you've got a new great opportunity for you that's opening up down in Temple, and we're really excited for you that you get to move on to this new adventure, a new season of your career. So talk to us a little bit about that, and can we give the public some assurance in the hands that you're leaving the library in that these are people that are more than capable of handling it until we get our new librarian in, which is not going to be the same, but we'll try and love them.
Yeah,
anyway.
we'll try.
Yeah, don't give them a hard time. So yes,
That's not how Natalie would have done it. I'm sorry. I'm going to put that book back. Yeah.
Yes, I found out just a few weeks ago that I was accepted for a position with the City of Temple, and I wasn't really looking to leave because I love it here. Unfortunately, there's some other circumstances outside of working for the city or being in the city. It has nothing to do with Lake Dallas at all, where I realized I'm going to have to find a new place to go. And so I found this new opportunity, and I'm excited, but it's very bittersweet because I absolutely love it here. And one of the hardest conversations I think I've ever had was calling the city manager and saying, I was just offered a new job. And I started to cry, and I was like, please just give me a second. But no, things are going to be fine. Heather, who I'm sure everyone in the city knows, she's still going to be there.
Great.
She's going to hold down the ship. And then the other ladies who work there and gentlemen who work there, they're ready to take on this responsibility. We have opened up the position, and we're taking applications now. So we should be doing some interviewing, and I'll be a part of that process as well. Good. So they will get the Natalie stamp of approval.
All right. There we go.
Unless you don't like them, in which case I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, perfect. In 6 months, we're going to be like, hey, your stamp of approval is wearing off on this
I'll be like,
joker.
sorry, guys. Yeah. So no, everything will be good. Like I said, we're planning the summer reading program right now. I'm getting all of the passwords transferred over and the accounts transferred over, and then we've got some great city staff who have agreed to help with some of the behind the scenes, technical parts of the library for the interim staff. Megan Foote is going to be our interim director in the intervening time when I leave, and then the new person steps in. So she's got it under lock. She's been with us for about 3 years now, so cool. She knows the routine, and it's gonna be good.
Yeah. So when's your last day at the library?
My last day is February 26th.
Oh, wow.
And my going away party, which we will be putting out on social media soon, is going to be February 20th. It's that Saturday, and it'll be from 10 to 12. So it'll be a come and go with some light snacks and refreshments, and I'd love to see everybody there.
Yeah. Well, hey, Natalie, thanks for being here. Everybody that's listening, make sure that you sign up for any of the stuff that's in the show notes. You can get your digital library card. Yep. You can file your taxes digitally with help through the United Way. There's some parameters that you need to meet there that will be I'm sure explained in the link. And do make sure that you come by on the 20th and tell Natalie what a great job she's done. We're certainly going to miss you. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, hey, and thanks you guys for listening. We will see you guys. Are we going to do one next week?
I think so.
Yeah, well, good. Well,
unless we're not snowed out.
Yeah, we're not snowed out. Next week, we actually have Megan Ray from the Lake Dallas City Council that's going to come on and talk to us about some of the plans that they've got for the city upcoming this year and what some of her favorite and biggest accomplishments have been since COVID. So make sure that you stay tuned for that, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you.
Chris and Lucas want to thank you for listening to the Lake Cities Podcast, a service provided by FBC Lake Dallas and Antioch Christian Fellowship. If you have a topic you would like for Chris and Lucas to discuss, email them at thelakecitiespodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you give us a review and click on the subscribe button to get the latest episodes each week.